I think I haven't done this before. All right. So obviously this time of year, WordPress news and events, news is a little bit slow right now. I know there's a couple of maintenance releases. There was one recently for WordPress, but not, to be honest, really more bug fixes kind of thing under the hood kind of improvements. One thing we're trying to spotlight, which I'm trying to bring to people's attention, is every month something happening on either learn.wordpress or the main wordpress.org site. So I saw that they've added a new video to the learn.wordpress YouTube channel, really talking about a tour of the new Learn WordPress experience. So we did a little bit of showcase of some of the changes last month as well, but it's worth checking out. It's a pretty short video for a couple of minutes, but it'll show you some of the things that they're doing there. And really, I think the Learn.WordPress just keeps on improving for beginners and anybody, intermediate people, etc. It's really a great resource. So worth a watch. Like I said, just a couple of minutes. I'll put the link into the chat after this. And also, as we were talking about earlier, WordCamp US 2024 going on right now. So it's in Portland, Oregon. I assume everyone here is not at it physically, but as we were saying earlier, if you go to the US, if you search for WordCamp 2024, you'll get to this page. I can also put this in the chat window as well. But the thing about this too, even if you obviously can't attend in person, you can follow along either what's happening each day or afterwards too. In time, I believe the sessions are generally for WordCamp US are posted to the main WordPress YouTube channel. So be on the lookout for that. And then we could also bring it up next month as well too, once the videos go up there. So that's all I really had for news. Tool or tip spotlight. Peter, you got to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. I was going to say you froze for a little while there.
Yes, sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just
okay.
my internet thing popped up. Sorry.
No worries.
It's all you.
All right. Where are we?
Tool or tip spotlight. Sorry.
Okay, great. Okay. I also, while I'm pulling that up, I also put the link to, there will be live streams for WordCamp US. So that is coming up. So they're gonna, I think it'll be live streaming on YouTube. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the plugin I want to show tonight is a simple one, but it can be really handy. It's really handy, especially if you're not using a block package like Cadence, like Stackable, like any number of the other ones that are out there, Spectra by the Astra folks. This is a plugin by Nick Diego. Nick Diego's done some really good stuff, and he's a core WordPress developer, and he's worked on the redesign of things. So I think a lot of the folks here know Nick. You see him in his presentations and training videos and things like that. But the icon block is a block that Nick created. It's on the repository, and it's just the icon block. It's a free, fully functional block. And what's great about it is it's just a simple way of bringing in icons that are of the SVG format. It has built into it the ability to just see all of the icons that basically come with the WordPress files, and then you can add any number of icons to it. So if you haven't seen this plugin and this block, it's really just a simple, handy thing. I've activated it. I'm on a demo site. I've activated the plugin, and it's as simple as going, like anything, adding the icon. You see a second one here because I do have Cadence running on this site too. So again, there are other packages out there, but from a straightforward out of core, it's as simple as going to the icon library. You could do a search or browse all, and you can see basically all of the icons that are packed with WordPress. So say you wanted to, you're doing something with Mastodon, which is something that maybe we'll talk about at the end of this because it's part of the Fediverse, but you can install it and then, just go into it and say, what size do you want it? Where do you want to align it? Setting the colors, if you wanted to set up, icon colors, background colors, padding, all of the things that are just a simple way to show an icon. If you want to put borders around, radius around the background image, things like that. A link, putting a link here is just as simple as clicking that to do the link, so it's now linkable. What's also nice is, and you can see it right here, and if I hit replace, I can edit or replace it with text. Actually, this because it's native to it, it's not going to show me that because it's pulling from that library. But what I could also do is if I go to something like a site like this, where you got free icons, and you saw my cat here, and if I did, and I've got some links to some free things, and say you liked the black cat icon that's shown here, you can look at it larger, but I'm just going to copy that SVG, come back to here, and if I go to replace this and say add edit, and I just put in the code. So if you know anything about SVG files, they're literally descriptions of an image through mathematical vectors. So they're very efficient. They scale perfectly. All the good things that we like about SVG sites, but it's just as simple as grabbing, an SVG file. You can edit them. There are icon creation. There are SVG creating sites. You can create something in Illustrator, and this simple icon block allows you to have a lot of control over how you're using that icon on your site. So it's a nice addition, especially if you're trying to stick to more of the core blocks and something. This is a nice, many people have said, probably should land in core at some point. So I like the icon block.
Did you mention too, Peter, about SVG? I saw it's even in the FAQ, I think, for this the plugin, that you have to do something to sites to allow SVGs to be uploaded to the media library, right?
Yeah, for the media library. So there are SVG cleaners that you typically use if you're getting your SVGs from reputable sites, and I believe that built into the icon plugin, it'll actually just say this doesn't look right, so it won't let you put that code on. And this is also a way that you don't really have to put it in your media library, because you're literally just putting the code for an SVG on the page, but it will check to make sure that it is a valid SVG file. The problem with SVG files is because they are in fact code, things can sometimes be hidden in code, so that there are SVG cleaners. I didn't bring one up, but SVG cleaner, I think there's one that'll probably, yeah, where you load up an icon and then you get that code back to you. In fact, I think I still have it in memory. If I do this, yeah, clean and optimize, and then it gives you the file that you can. This is a different file that I already played with, and it gives you that. So there's different tools where you can go and actually look at what the SVG are. One of the things that I've played with the icon block is if you look at the code, you're going to see where it's saying fill equals 00. That's the color, the stroke color. So this is going to be a black outline. And the icon block respects the color if it's built into the SVG code. But you could tweak that, take that out, and then you can control all the colors in the block, just like I showed earlier with the WordPress core icon. It's just something, it's easy enough to load, to play with, very handy to have an efficient way of dropping icons on your site.
Peter, Jim was asking a quick question about, can you show how to use this to add an icon next to or above a text headline? I assume since it's just a block, it's just,
yeah.
So if you wanted it, like, let's say to the side of like a headline or text or something. I assume you'd have to do it as like a row.
Yeah, so if I put this
in a group,
and then I could align it left, and then I should be able to just drop let me put the heading. This is a cat. And let me me put that up in the group. Interesting.
Well, at the group level, then you can change, right? You can change it to be, if you click on the group, right, that's where you can switch it to be like side by side or the
Yeah,
stack or whatever. Yeah. So
yeah, just
hope that answered.
you're right. And I get that mixed up with the group because again, relatively new features, and especially if I'm using my other tools that have like rows and all.
Yeah, groups are the rows or columns or whatever.
And I really do like the fact that we have this power now built into the group block where you're setting basically a grid that says, are you stacking it? Are you going left to right? Things like that. And now I can move it to the other side. I can change the size of this,
Sometimes things, now it's just a regular block and it seems a lot more lightweight. Like I remember having a plugin somewhere that had a bunch of icons and it was just huge because they were all PNGs or something.
Yeah, exactly. To avoid PNGs and then to have control over, especially if you brought it where it doesn't have colors tied to it, and now you can apply colors to your icons, kind of in the same way. It's a great way of giving yourself more control in a more efficient way over things than, yeah.
Gene has another curveball question. Do you know if these can replace the dash icons? Like the dash icons that are built into WordPress? I wouldn't think so. Not without writing some code. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. The only place I think I've seen that is with some like menu management plugins where you can load an icon there.
Yeah, this seems to be more like it's a block, so you can use it any place you can use a block, but I wouldn't think
so it's here, but it is using some of the same things that are in that library, I believe. And please, anybody correct us if I'm wrong, that the dash icons have all, it was a couple years ago, all went to like the SVG format and were made more available. They were more proprietary, if I remember correctly. But that's why that library of images, it's pretty extensive, 297. They're relatively simple, right? There's nothing too fancy, but in a lot of cases, that's all you need. Say you wanted to do instructions and you wanted to have just kind of icons showing where you are. The logos are probably what, folks are going to use, more often. So it's easy enough to go through these and see what's there, but having that ability to bring in the SVG and drop it into it is pretty handy. But something worth exploring, add to the toolkit as a way of quickly doing something. I started using it and finding like, oh, that's pretty handy.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.
Let me grab it back and share my desktop once more. All right, let me refresh this. So let's make sure I get the latest version. All right, so as I said, tonight's topic, talking about creating a hub, powerful hub for your online presence using WordPress. So this is like I said, an interesting topic. So we think it kind of touches upon things that we've discussed in the past, but hopefully brings it all together under one umbrella. So we'll do a couple quick introductions of who we are. But really, like I said, I think we've touched upon this several times in previous discussions. So why would you want to do this? Why would you want to use your website as a hub for your online presence? So we'll talk about that a little bit, Peter and myself. Then Peter will show how to build a link tree in WordPress and do a demo of that. Then I'll talk about a couple of other kind of shorter, quick topics, but like connecting some social media feeds to your WordPress website. And I'll stick with Instagram a bit, but it certainly applies for other types of feeds. And then along with that, just another idea of talking about other ways to showcase your products, services, or expertise. So again, we're talking online presence, so the term's a little bit broad. It could be for a person or a business or organization, etc. Then we'll talk about how to properly or improve the way that your posts can be shared on social media. I'll briefly touch on promoting events on WordPress. How you can use, again, your website hub to do that, and then we'll do some wrap up. So I'm Ray, I'm one of the Hartford WordPress co-organizers. Met a fairly long career in IT as a developer, software architect, working for some large corporations. I've been using WordPress around 8+ years, roughly. Self-employed as a website developer, married, no kids. I live in Newington, Connecticut, and I am a geek. Peter.
I am Peter Ingersoll. I have been working on the web itself for pretty much since the beginning, working for a newspaper, started a lot of that. So it was all self-taught work. I am self-employed, married with 2 kids. I live in South Windsor, Connecticut, the other side of the river, and a bit north from Ray. I call myself a WordPress admin and DIY advocate. And actually I've changed that to WordPress DIY and accessibility advocate. So I should edit that. And something I'll show you today, I can be found at ingersollwp.com, but I'll bring that up in a little bit and use it as a demo.
Cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the why behind this and give some context for this topic. So, and I've run into this a bit too, and we did a presentation a couple of years ago now. It's on our YouTube channel about let's build a website together, starting from scratch. And I think it was part of that. I could be wrong, but we talked about the benefits of, why would you want to do that besides just, it's fun to play with WordPress. And I've certainly in my business, I'm sure Peter, you've dealt with some customers and clients too, who kind of say, well, why do I need a website? I've got a Facebook page, I've got this, and again, we're not saying in this discussion don't have those social media things, but we'll talk a little bit about why you shouldn't only have rely on social media platforms. So again, why is it important to have a hub for all of your social media content and presence? Well, number one, I would say, is ownership of your data. So yeah, if you think about social media platforms, those of you who've been around the web and its precursors for quite a while, these platforms come and go. MySpace, you ask somebody younger today, they say, what is that? Gig was another news thing. Twitter, question mark, things come and go, and the popularity of things come and go. So one of the problems is when some of these things go, as people found, especially Google is notorious for shutting things down pretty quickly, it's really hard to get your data out. You don't own your data. Sometimes the format, if you're lucky, they'll give you perhaps a way to export data, but what are you going to do with it? And what are you going to import it into? So, they're closed platforms, and it's really hard to either, get ownership of your data, or like I said, if you need to move it someplace else. And that's why they want to keep you there. They want to keep you inside of their closed platform. Another one, and then I'll shut up, and Peter, you can touch on these too. So just broader discovery too. Again, that walled garden. It's really difficult. I mean, if you try searching for something inside of Facebook, it's hard to find information. It's all mixed together. And especially, like I said, for people who don't use the platform, if I don't want to be on Twitter and somebody sends me a link to Twitter, it's going to open up some page and ask me to create an account and all this kind of stuff. So it's hard to share information. It's hard to discover information on social media platforms. And really that's because these platforms also, they push their content based on their rules. I mean, anyone who's looked at a feed on Facebook and you refresh it every second, it looks completely different. So it's hard a lot of times to get context or make anything sticky in that sense of from a social media standpoint. Peter, anything to add to these
Yeah,
two?
no, yeah, some of the things that we'll talk about in the next 2 slides too, but yeah, it's really this whole idea of putting all your eggs into the social media basket is just so risky. And there's been things that have happened where people just, relied on it as their business, where they do all of their business. And then something happens and they've lost that, and they've lost the data that goes with it and all. So I think our next slide talks a little bit about the potential risks, those privacy concerns. We're giving our data up. That phrase, nothing is free. The price you're paying is your data, is the information that you're sharing, and then how that gets used. Obviously, the reputation risks is a big thing now. The fake accounts. The controversial social media owners. I know plenty of people who have left one platform and now leaving another platform. Maybe at the end, if folks are hanging on, I'd love to kind of open up the floor to people, if anyone is experimenting with the Fediverse and some of the neat things that are happening there, because I think that's almost like the next version of some of the topics that we're talking about here, where instead of these social platforms being owned by individuals, right? I mean, we talk about Elon Musk, and we talk about Zuckerberg and those folks that are making decisions with our information and how things are being presented, and who can and how can. And without getting political, there are things that land there that make it hard to say, oh, I just want to, everybody else is there and we're sharing all the information. And Twitter is big for the WordPress community in a lot of ways, but there are issues with that. And yeah, Ray, you put this point about, if you do have problems, I hear and see so many things where people struggle, like with YouTube. If business is built on YouTube, but that is its own thing, a little bit different, but still tied to this whole thing. Getting things blocked, getting things banned, trying to figure out why somebody puts in, and then going in and saying, I need to talk to somebody to fix this, and can't. So it can be a risky place to be.
Yeah, and the last one on this here, I'll touch on too, is that separation of business and personal data. It's a little bit better now on Facebook, but early days, I mean, not that long ago, 5 years ago, when I was helping a lot of clients set up their Facebook business pages, so many times I saw people posting things to their personal page that they should have put to their business page, and vice versa. It was confusing. It's a little bit better now to switch your profiles, but again, most of us on here, I think, are comfortable enough with computers and the internet. I hope you made it to Zoom. You've done well. But there's a lot of business people or people just who aren't as comfortable or familiar with that, and it can be difficult. So that separation is one concern too of being on social media. Again, so why we've kind of talked about this already, but why use WordPress as your hub? You are in control, so you decide what you want to share. How you want to present your information. I think that's a key point as well. And we'll show some examples of this later. I have a couple, I think, of people who do really amazing examples of putting together personalized websites versus, when you're on social media. I was looking at my LinkedIn, which I don't look at that often, but it's very cookie cutter. LinkedIn is one of the most boring social media platforms out there. But allows you to show a little bit of personality as opposed to just taking what they give you. And again, there's some other, with things we talked about with WordPress in general, you get all that. So it's very hard, and especially if you're not using social media for advertising, it's very hard to get metrics for free these days. They've shut down so many more things. You can hardly tell who's been on your page or who your audience is, anything like that. And again, not to say that that's simple with other analytics, website analytics, because that's a whole other privacy concern thing too. But at least you have more ability, I think, to track things. And just the last one, I'll shut up, is the focus part too. I mean, how many times are you looking at something on other YouTube? Well, YouTube, I'll pick on that one because that one's the easiest distraction. You start looking at something, you see that little, recommended thing in the side. Oh, you click on that, next thing you know, it's like you're 5 clicks deep. Like, where was I? How do I go back? So at least on your website, you have hopefully a better chance of keeping people's attention. Anything else, Peter, to add to this?
Yeah, no, that whole being in control, having all your stuff in one place, and making sure that you're found, all also very, very important. Social media is so fleeting, and the work that goes into going back and finding things. I know there's one of the reasons why this is a topic that I like to kind of promote is I know of folks who do some fantastic things. They've posted things on social, and then I have to go search, and it's more difficult than it needs to be at times if they had a home base. It's another, we call it the hub. A lot of times when I'm talking to business, I'm like, you need that home base, which will help me find the stuff that they've put out and shared on social media. But having that place where whether you want to call it the source of truth or all of those things that says, this I own, this I have control over, this is how I brand myself, present myself, and then everything else branches off of that. That's why we're looking at this hub concept.
Yeah. All right, this one's you. I'm gonna stop Sharing. Back to you.
So Linktree is a very popular place to do what we're talking about in terms of making it easy for people to have one place where they can go find things. And a lot of folks, and I just wanted to make sure, we just wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity to let folks know that you could do all of this in WordPress, do it easy, do it better, do it for cheaper. And so that's one of the things that we're going to demo tonight. So this idea of Linktree. So you know, if you use especially Instagram, Instagram has the whole click on click in bio, look in bio for that one link that they have to the to all of your other links, right? So you're kind of allowed that one link. So that links in bio thing will often go to, for a lot of people, to a Linktree type thing, or to Linktree specific. Linktree does have a free version, but then if you want to do a lot of things, it can get pretty expensive pretty fast. And there's other features. In fact, since I was looking at this stuff and the way social media works, I started seeing things in social media feeds telling me, here's an option that's a lot cheaper than the $1,000 you could spend a year on Linktree. Well, that was another commercial service, as opposed to, you know, what we're doing, what we're talking about now. But this idea that you can build something where you have complete control over that design, create from scratch or start with a pattern. You're not limited to just links. Use for that links in bio. You've got many URL options. Using it as the homepage of a domain, a landing page, a page within a site. You could use URL shorteners to go to something if you've got a page set up with this, and I can show you what that means. But the whole idea is making it as easy as possible to share a link that then shares to all your other links or your information or whatever you'd like to do. So that's this kind of Linktree thing. This idea of a lot of features for free in quotes, because we all know, you know, WordPress is not completely free, and depending on how deep you want to get into certain features and all, but, you know, other than hosting, the amount that we can do for free is tremendous, even on the metric side and things like that. There's so many things that we can do. So that availability of better metrics is pretty handy. Very quickly, the common elements of a Linktree type page, easy to remember URL, landing page style. So no header, just kind of right into here are the links. Absolutely has to work on mobile. That typically has a photo or a branding image, a short description, links, social media links, and then extra information you might want to highlight. And then, you know, a compact output of links to content featured in social media. What I'm trying to say here is, especially on commercial sites, like you will have, I can't think of an example right now, but say Instagram's a great example of where you'll see these posts that are like, we're showing you this great product, we're showing you this recipe that we made, and then you have to go to but the one link, and then from there you have all the links to the things that you've seen in Instagram. So you go to kind of a landing page, and you can do this on a single WordPress landing page site that is your Linktree, with, you know, even if your blog is there and you want to have a nice compact way of presenting the blog, you could do that right on this page. So there's a lot of things that we can do with that. Something that's pretty cool, and there's not a whole lot there now, but there's enough, because all we have to do is build off of it, which is, and I'll show it here. There is patterns on WordPress.org for free that people in the community have put out there. And just real quick, and Ray, just this first time you're seeing this, I started a separate WordPress account, Hartford WP Meetup, separate from my Peter Ingersoll WordPress account, so that I can do some of our favorites, both for now patterns and for plugins, that when we share, we can say, you know, you could just go and look at the Hartford WordPress Meetup favorites. So that's kind of cool.
Good idea.
So I've favorited, you know, just to make this one simple page of favorites of the different patterns that are available on wordpress.org in the pattern library that if you haven't used yet, there's some pretty good stuff. One thing that's important while we're here, if you're looking at patterns, so you landed over here in patterns and you do a search for, say, Linktree. One of the things that happens, and you should be aware of this, is it's always going to default to curated content, which is sort of the WordPress.org stuff. Click on community, or all, but click on community, apply that, and now you'll see patterns that have been shared by the community. And in fact, I can go share something. You can go share something. You can create a pattern and upload it to the pattern library, and it could be shared with. In fact, I started doing a Linktree one way back when. Don't need to do that now because there are already some there, and I'll show you how to use these in just a sec. But that's kind of a neat thing here where we've got these, and I put the links in the slides. You can pull up the slides, but these are the specific ones, right? So we can look at, here's what this particular developer put out there and shared. So some pretty cool things. I'll show you how to use those in a second. So the next thing is we're going to go into a quick demo. And as we always say, your WordPress experience is defined by your theme, plugins, and custom. I should get this on a thing. WordPress environments can vary greatly. Understanding concepts is more helpful than specifics because what you will see on my screen may not match what you're seeing on your screen. Although I will show something very quickly in Playground, which we like. So why don't I jump right to Playground? So if I go to playground.wordpress.net, this is a great way of just loading an instance of WordPress in your browser. I'm not saving and I'm not doing anything other than using this for demo purposes. And I'll show you the first thing, which is kind of that neat. If I wanted to have go to a page, add a new page, and I will just call it links. Let me just save that draft, close that. Now, watch, if I go over here to, let me go back to the favorites that I had. And say I want to look at this Linktree alternative, right? So this is on the repository. And if you haven't done this, this is kind of a neat way. I can just look at it and go, yeah, I like this. This has all I need. All I want is a simple, picture, buttons, links, the social media stuff. You just come up here, go to copy pattern. It's copied. Now we go to, I'm going to go to Playground in this case, and I'll show it on other sites too. And if I just paste this, it just drops everything in there. If I look at my all the blocks that are loaded in, I can see everything that's there. And one of the quickest ways to build this is just to bring in a pattern and start editing it. If I wanted to come in here and replace, I won't have anything here, so I will select me. So I can start building out this image. I'm going to make it rounded, a little bit bigger. Let's say rounded. No, it doesn't want to do rounded. But you can see, you just go through here, and now if I want to have this be, and I'll show you what I'm basing some of this off of, which is what I actually do for Ingersoll WP, which is my own little link tree that I've created. But this is where I've added things. I've got buttons for links or links. We want to be careful about buttons and accessibility, although the phrase gets used, right? A button will do something like open up a pop-up for a form or something like that, or submit something, whereas a link is a link. But you can use the button blocks to post links in kind of an organized way. So I have links. I've got a little icon that I want to say. I have my social media accounts, things like that. So, my Ingersoll Interactive account, if I went to here, I could say Ingersoll Interactive link, and you get the picture. I can just edit this. Let me go to my underutilized, needs to be redone. Oh my gosh.
It shows how often you visit your own site there.
Okay, yeah. Grab that and then click here to put it in the link and so on. And I can start building this out. As simple as this is, maybe I want to change go to the cover, go to the design. Is it the cover? It's the group. No, it is the cover. Overlay. Why I'm not seeing background image.
Go.
That's because it's on the front. One of the
Tabs.
So you get so used to doing things like in the styles area, and all of a sudden on one block it's elsewhere. If I click on this and replace that with this nice ocean image, I can start making it my own and editing. So you get the idea of what you can do now. If I were to publish this, and remember I'm still in the playground, one of the things, like say you're using a block theme, you want to use like a template that isn't giving you all of the headers and the titles and things like that, so you can see. And while I'm not a super expert here, if I go here and go to the template and then go to create a new template, I'm going to call it, let's call it landing links, because it could be used for something. Create that. And I want to go to the top and delete this and delete the separator, delete the title. So basically it's just the content. If I save this and save that, now what I should see is now that's a way I've basically created a new template that is like a landing page template. It might be already built into your theme. I also am not an international yoga trainer. I can't bend more than a few degrees one way or the other. But that is a neat way to start. Now, I'll show you real quick without going through the whole build process under, let me see, I've got it over here. So you saw this. Now the behind the scenes of this is, and I'm using some cadence, although I've been swapping things out and using less cadence. But sometimes you might find that there's a block in a block package you use that does something more that you like. Like the cadence blocks have a hover over color that's kind of nice. The social media blocks, this is just core. I didn't show that, but you can go in here and add or remove the different blocks under social icons. You can pick, if I happen to have a Basecamp one and I wanted to put my Basecamp link there, I could change these all to the same color. If I don't give it a color, it defaults to the background colors to the colors of the branded colors for each one of the social networks. But this is a way to put all your social networks in there. You go and you put each one of the links. So here's my WordPress account, my LinkedIn account, so on and so forth. I don't need this, so I'm going to take that out. But that's how you drop in. It's just the social icon core block. Drop it in there. The various block packages have their own versions of things like that. Again, and this, I'm just building a page, right? Images, headings, links to presentations I've done. So it's nothing more than that, but presenting it in a clean way. I was playing with, okay, if I took another version of something out of the repository and just started tweaking it, this started with something out of the pattern library, but I changed, the buttons to the links to have a gradient to it, a white outline, a different background, and so on. So when you're looking at something like Linktree itself, right? So if we go to very quickly Linktree templates, and as you go through what you could get if you got a Linktree account, you can copy any of these so easily in WordPress with WordPress blocks. There's nothing.
What is the paid? I guess again, I've seen Linktree. I've never actually created one.
Yeah.
But what does it give you in the paid version? Like, why would you pay for this? Besides
So
the hosting part, I guess.
yeah, so you start getting, you know, the types of features where you are, you know, add
Analytics. Yeah.
animations. Okay, big deal. We can do, you know, all of the things that we can do. Spotlight, you can, how you can modify the design, and then as you move up, you're getting more access to data, for
Yeah,
example.
analytics is what
Yeah.
Sue was saying. Yeah, it makes sense that,
You can
yeah.
add, right, so you can add like the UTM if you're tracking a campaign and you want to see how things work and all, whereas you could do all of that in WordPress for free. You could just put that in, and you already know to build this. Now, not that Linktree is hard to build, it's not, but why when we already have it? Now, in terms of the links right now, so for folks who haven't used that, I've made that is my homepage. So if I look at my front page is that working page. But say I went, and here's one I was just playing with. I think I just showed it to you. And if I published it and then made that in settings, reading, you know, set my homepage, I can make that. So you can work on it on the side and then decide I'm going to make that my homepage. Or, as we'll get back to the presentation real quick. Don't know the window, so I will just go back to here. If you want to use what I put it, the homepage of a domain, you can get, this is where you can get a separate domain. If you get an inexpensive domain, a .me domain, something like that, and have it just be that thing if you want to do it, if you want to have your blog things. A page within a site, you can certainly do that, and you would be linking to the /tree or /links or whatever you want. But you could also then also use like a URL shortener, a bit.ly, something like that. I like what I'm doing with mine, where it just goes to. So now I can just say, you know, somebody would say, well, how do I find you? Go to IngersollWP.com. All my links are there. My email link is there. My social media links are there. I'm going to be building that out. So yeah, I mean, I could show you a lot more, but no need. I think you get the idea. You're building a page to replicate what something like Linktree is. And now, you know, in Instagram, your links in bio would be to whatever you've built. IngersollWP.com, for example, for me.
And where I think this is, I mean, just like I said, Linktree itself obviously has this like this benefit too, but building yourself, it's like this looks really good on mobile because it looks like an app. It basically looks like a thin app, you know,
Yep.
it just has a bunch of buttons you click on. But it's again, we talk about control, you control it. It's funny as you look at those paid tiers, like the most expensive one was like customer support. That's what we
Yeah.
talked about before. We're
Yeah.
like, we'll give you a phone number you can actually call. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. No.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just one of those things where I'm like, we all have it, and not
$24 a
everybody's
month
thought
for
about
that too. Wow.
creating a page.
Yeah.
Any questions? We can.
No, not yet. No, we're doing good.
Okay.
Let me grab it
I
back.
will stop sharing.
That's right. All right. So that's Linktree. Very cool. Let me go. So this next one again kind of follows up a little bit of, again, we're back to the hub. So as we're building out this hub, Peter showed like the social buttons themselves, and so I won't show that. That's more of adding, basically adding the social icons to your site. But what I was talking about a little bit is, well, what if you actually want to pull content from social media into your site? So I'll show a quick example using Instagram. So there's multiple ways to do this, multiple plugins. The one that I've found kind of the simplest to work with, and in fact, the free version does quite a bit. There is a paid version. I'll show you some of that in a second. Is Smash Balloon. I think it's been around for quite a while. So what this allows you to do is pull in a variety of social media feeds to your site. So, why would you want to do this? As we talked about before, it's not that you want to get rid of your Facebook page, or your Instagram or any other social media. But the thought is, if somebody, as Peter was showing, somebody comes to your page looking for information about you or your business, you want to keep them there. You don't want them getting distracted going off. But if they want to look at more of what's going on, they can go out to your social media, obviously through the buttons that you put on there. So what Smash Balloon does, like I said, it's pretty simple. And because one of the complexities in the past was, the different social media feeds, and they keep changing this all the time, their APIs to pull data out is difficult. They've shut things down. I remember having another plugin a few years ago for pulling data from Facebook. It just stopped working because, thankfully, Facebook finally started getting serious about data privacy and things like that. But having done that, the old plugin I was using kept breaking all the time. So yes, while you could probably code your own, REST calls to pull this data, you want to use a plugin, especially like I said, for the time that you're gonna spend. So Smash Balloon, again, this is not a promotion for them. There's other ones out there too, but the thing I do like about them is, like I said, pretty well supported. Really, I'll show you what it looks like on the back end. But pretty robust in terms of what they can pull in. So I'll show an example today of an Instagram feed, but it can connect to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. There's quite a few. And as I said, the free version works pretty well for basic integration. I don't know if it works for all of these, but certainly for Instagram, I think I've tried it as well for Facebook in the past. So, what do you get? Let me just show. So this is a site that I built a while back for a local client. So again, she does a lot of stuff on Instagram. She really wanted to showcase that, and not lose that, and not have people have to look in two different places. So I said, all right, we just kind of create this gallery page on her site. Excuse me. And what this does is this is just her Instagram feed. And again, a nice grid. You can click on these. This will actually go to the corresponding Instagram story feed, etc. And then the nice thing down here too is it also throws in the buttons to follow on Instagram or load more. So very handy, really easy to set up. There's a little bit of work on it because when I first set it up, if you're doing it for a client or somebody else, you're using somebody else's feed, you're going to need to work with them because there was a bit of security credential thing. She had to do a couple things, give me some information, et cetera, et cetera. So again, but if you're doing this for yourself, you'll have access to all these things. So I'll show you a little bit of what this looks like on the back end. So as I said, it's a plugin. I'm using the free version from the repositories. If you just search for Smash Balloons, it should be in here somewhere, Smash Balloon Instagram feed. I think it's even called that specifically. So they've broken apart too. That's another nice thing. If you're using the free version, you maybe don't want the TikTok integration, etc. So let me show you real quick. Where is Smash Balloon? Let me just go to settings. But easiest way to find it. So again, this is the free version. You manage your sources. So that's where you connect to the feed. That's where you've got to put in all the authentication, security stuff, etc. It does a pretty good job of cleaning itself up, which I like. But then when you have a feed itself, let me find where it is. Okay, it's all feeds. Sorry, it's in the settings. So what can you do once you've created a feed? You can use it as a shortcut. I think that's how I added it. I don't remember if it had a block to it. It may now, or maybe the pro version gives you a block. But what's nice is you have a couple of options for settings. So again, the free one, you get what you paid for. You get the grid, but it does give you a little bit of configuration to it. So you can increase the padding, make these a little wider, make them all tight together, et cetera, et cetera. You can also control the number of posts, for mobile or desktop. So not bad, again, for free. And obviously, if you get the paid version, you'll have a couple of different options as well. And then you can control color schemes, all of these things that normally would be kind of difficult for you to do out of the box. Again, Lightbox, another nice one too. So back to the idea of not having people leave your site. If they click on one of these, it'll open up there directly. And as I said, the load more button and the follow button are also built into there too. So really nice. Like I said, I think this one's a handy one to do. And again, I've seen it on different sites. I won't click on it. I did earlier. I'm afraid of getting a copyright strike if we do this. But look at the Mariah Carey site. If you do a search on that, she's using it behind the scenes. So she pulls in. I think she's pulling in stuff from Spotify. She's pulling in stuff from. It's not her personally, but her web version. They're pulling in stuff from YouTube, etc. So it's a nice view of how you can. She's basically has her online presence hub on her own website. So Smash Balloon, that's one, like I said, I think it's a pretty easy one to connect your social media feeds to your site. So that was the demo showing you what that looks like.
One thing that's nice about that, and I put in the resources link at the bottom of the presentation. They also have a Twitter and something else. They have 3 plugins. They're always chasing the rules on what they can. It's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and the rules get changed about how the APIs get used and things like that. So
I think the other time I used it, I think, unless I'm thinking of a there might be another, is for reviews, because that was another one too of pulling those in. Because there are some, I know there are some other standalone plugins that did just that. I believe this is the one that does it from from Google reviews, or it could be from Yelp as well too. So that one's quite popular, and that's a nice one to have if you're working on a business site.
yeah.
As long as you have good reviews. Maybe don't put those in your homepage.
The Instagram's nice, especially too, if you are working with a client and the client is spending all of their time on Instagram, and or their business is like that, like a food truck that might do a lot of events,
Right.
and the only thing they have time to do is to take photos and put on Instagram. Now you can feed that in and put it under like a gallery link.
Right. And
And
I know you're going to talk a little bit more about integrating things in terms of blog posts, but this was my conversation with this client was about, because she was saying once I showed her the blog stuff, she's like, oh, do I need to put this in twice? I said, no, because she does not want to be a blogger. She does not want to type in blog post or anything like that. And I know there's other tools that can kind of, what was the one we talked about before? Not HubSpot. The one that I always forget.
Hootsuite, Buffer.
Hootsuite, Buffer, etc. Yeah, there are other tools that you can use to kind of post things and take things back and forth. But this was simple. This was just let her do her Instagram. She's very comfortable with that. And meanwhile, she was really happy to see, oh, when somebody comes to my site, they can see all this information there. So that's again, so that's Smash Balloon. So kind of on a similar but slightly different. Back to the hub idea again is. And I'll equate this a little bit with LinkedIn, for example. So, if everyone has a LinkedIn profile or has seen one, obviously, that is one way as a business professional to showcase kind of your expertise, your services. It's not really a great way these days. Like I said, I find the templates in LinkedIn quite boring and really bland in a lot of ways, and you look like everyone else on there. So. What if you want to, on your site, as Peter was saying, either one of your buttons there or something on your link tree, or just, somewhere on your personal hub site. Let's say you want to either showcase, products that you're selling. I'm not talking WooCommerce. I'm just saying maybe more kind of broadly products or services, or expertise is probably a good example too. So what kind of things we do? Let's say maybe case studies. Get into some real detail behind things and say, here's what I did. So all that kind of rich information, which is really difficult to fit into all those like tiny templates that they give you either on your Facebook business page or Google business profile. I mean, that's what we're talking about in terms of showcasing things. Once you've got a website, like Peter said, you can do anything with it. So this is anything, I think for most of you that's really revolutionary, but just to think about a bit, especially either if you're creating something for yourself too, whether you're on a job hunt or you just want to showcase your expertise as you, try to attract clients, or just, try to do speaking gigs, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll show you a couple examples of different situations. So, how can you do this on your WordPress site? And like I said, when I click on these, maybe that'll be a little bit clearer. One way is a really simple solution is you can showcase any of these things, just regular blog posts, like we said. So WordPress itself, most themes will have pretty decent support for archive pages. WordPress obviously has all built-in support for tags, categories, etc. So it could be as simple as creating a blog post for some case study. So using example as a website developer, so some site that I've improved or created new. I don't have to do anything crazy. I can create that as a blog post and create images in there before and after, and then just publish those to my site. That's a really simple built-in way in WordPress, but it's rich because anything you can do in a blog post, you can put images, you put sounds, etc., versus what you can do on something like LinkedIn. You have a lot more tools available to you. Another simple one I'll show in a second is a gallery block. So that's another easy way to show. Here, like here's some images of things I've done, I've built, et cetera, et cetera. So it's good for visual offerings, artwork, before and after pictures, things like that. And then again, if you really want to get detailed, using the custom post type of field, you can create some structure around your projects or services, et cetera. So that way you're saving a bunch of these things you know, in a standard way, and then you could just display them as you would like a blog post. So there's things that are built already into WordPress and without too much difficulty that you can use. So let me show again a couple examples of these. I think that this might help a little bit. So let's talk about the like the gallery. So this was another client who I'd worked with a little bit a while back. But yeah, you know, a landscaping contractor, so they have just, you know, design gallery. So they're showcasing on here. Here's, you know, you can click on any one of these projects, get into before picture, and again, before, here's what everything, you know, what they did, after photo, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, most people have probably seen this if you ever looked at, you know, a business like this. But try doing this in you know, LinkedIn. try doing this on your Facebook business page. You're not going to be able to provide the context or just give this kind of experience to anybody. So, you know, again, that's just a simple example. And this was a little bit more complicated because it's a page and it's, you know, it's got some scrolling effects and all that. But something as simple as this, I don't have that client's site up right now, but just a simple before and after photo. Let me see if I actually see if I can find it real quick. This was just literally adding in a gallery, meaning a photo gallery. So this is a totally different clip. It's just this, you know, simple gallery masonry side by side. They put the pictures in here, but like I said, there are things that you could do this as a Facebook post. It gets lost, you know, as soon as you publish it out there. Good luck for people to find it. Maybe people engage with it, but a client comes looking for you later. It's like, what do you tell them? Oh, go look at my page, and then I created a post. Go look at my photo, you know, library on Facebook. So again, doing stuff like this, a really easy way to showcase stuff on your site. So case studies, again, another little bit more in depth, and I believe this. I think the next two I'm showing are actually speakers who are at the WordCamp US this week. So I was looking for examples of people who did these kind of online hubs. So this person, again, if you look at one for projects here, so let's say it was a Hachette book group. So here's something that, like I said, is really difficult to showcase your expertise in a standard template, but it talks about, you know, what did we do? What was our role? Here's the before picture. So again, kind of like a landscaper one, but in a little bit more detail, you know, so being able to call out block quotes, being able to put side-by-side images, et cetera, and it's detailed. That's the thing, you know, it's more like if someone's looking for your expertise, especially if you're taking on big projects, what a great thing to have, as opposed to just, you know, skimming through your Facebook profile, et cetera. So again, here's another way. Like I said, this would probably be a page, I assume. Yeah, it's most likely a page as opposed, or maybe a custom post type you create like this. And I'll show one last one. So in terms of showcasing expertise, I think this one kind of brings it all together. So I believe this next one is a speaker who's going to be at WordCamp US. Brian Rosenstein. I'm not familiar with him, others may be, but personally, I love this. This is kind of what we've been talking about here. Obviously, it's not a LinkedIn tree, but if you look at, you know, the whole page is basically a showcase of this person's expertise. So, you know, if you want to find out more about them, you know, more information, all education stuff. So what a great, like, rather than just a bland resume or CV or something, it's the whole site is the CV. You know, so what are they spoken about? What topics are they presented at? What books are they presented? So obviously, not everyone's a professional speaker or author or something, but think about this for yourself, for your own business, or, you know, or your organization. You know, what kinds of things can you pull together to kind of show your expertise, and again, in one spot. So
Hey, Ray, can I interrupt real quick?
sure.
So that was an excellent example, and I've worked over the years on a couple of sites like that, working on one right now. The biggest challenge with those sites, put the word content aside, that's always a challenge. Photography, good photography for these personal sites. So I try to tell people, take photos as much as you can. Our phones are so darn good at taking photos. Take photos of if you're the subject, have people take photos of you doing things and all. And having a library of hiring a professional photographer for any of these things. I need that for some of the stuff, you know, the headshot.
I need that for every single website I work on for my clients. And it's like, whether, like I said, whether you're a professional speaker or you're that, you know, the landscaping business or you're whatever, it makes such a difference, because that's why everyone has these boring generic
Yeah.
AI images or stock images. I totally agree. It's the images make such a difference. So
Yeah.
again, you don't have to be intimidated. Like this person's site is all, multiple pages, et cetera, et cetera. But if you think about what's on here content wise, putting that into either a single page or just a couple of them, maybe a couple of these additional sub pages is probably doable for a lot of people. So again, just to show this as an idea of a way to kind of create a hub for all your information, certainly well beyond what you could possibly do on LinkedIn. All right, I think that was my last one. Okay, you're next. I'm going to stop sharing again. If you can grab it.
So let me share my screen too. Okay, so we'll do this really quick. Quickly, we first talked about, making your WordPress site, making that the center of the hub, especially if you have a thing that you can link to other things, and the reasons why that would, link to all the other stuff that you are for the link tree or that you posted, things like that. Linking, bringing back into your site, like through the Instagram smash balloon kind of thing. So now that's coming, back into your site and connecting it that way. Obviously, right from the beginning, sharing content in social media, producing it on your site. So that's where it starts. And again, after I'm going to keep saying it because I want to come back to it at the end of the call, because I'm curious if anybody has experienced this other way that's both kind of a two-way street. But obviously we create content and we want to share it, and we want to post it in different places. So prepping your post for social media, sharing, prepping your site, doing things, and there's just one kind of key thing that I'm going to demo after this, but using that SEO plugin to add the open graph meta tags, those things that get used by social media, that when you share a link, what is the image, what's the title, what's the description, those are your open graph meta tags. Twitter has its own proprietary thing, but they also default to open graph. So we can look at that, and I'm going to show you an example, but I also want to show you for people who are using different. I kind of went through an exercise and say, what does this look like on the different SEO plugin screen? So I'm going to show that. Obviously, right, clear and compelling meta information, something that's intriguing, clear. What is somebody actually going to link to? I still see things that get shared where the title, the description just don't match it. Hey, I'm not saying I don't do it by accident without double checking things, and I'm going to show you a tool where you can use that. The open graph tool, which I'll show you that. And then in terms of the sharing, this is a manual. I like the manual way of doing things a lot of times, because then I have control over the messages and stuff. I don't have enough content that I would overly automate. I don't even do nearly as much as I should at this point. But there's certainly ways that you could automatically post things. There are plugins, the infamous Jetpack plugin for automatically sharing things. So when you post something, what you've preset to go and share to your different social media accounts. There's something called Blog to Social, which is highly rated plugin. I have not used it, but it looks pretty good for doing that same type of thing. And there are others. And then the services that we mentioned, the Hootsuite, the Buffer, Publer is another one. This thing that I'm going to show you with the open graph things, while I've got the screen up, I've got a page here that shows, okay, where to look for what I'm showing you. I'm going to do it really quickly in Slim SEO. That's my favorite SEO plugin. Ray, you like SEO Press, and that's my second favorite one. And then on down the line, but in each one of those, you're going to have, so in Yoast, there will be a tab where you can find what you're looking for: the social image, the social title, social description. In Rank Math, there's an area where it'll look like this, where you go into settings under social, and where you can link in their screen's it's longer, but click on it, upload the image, what's the title, things like that. The SEO Framework, which is another good plugin. It has its place where you're going to look for under social, open graph title, the description, Twitter, because it handles titles a little bit differently, that image URL. SEO Press has a tab for social and what you're looking for there, and it actually has quite a few settings, which is nice. You can have different ones for Facebook and Twitter and all, and then Slim SEO, which is what I use mostly, is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You'll see this in action. And then Squirrely SEO, which is another, I hear that getting recommended a lot, SEO plugin. It also has an open graph, open graph section. Now, open graph, if we go to the open graph website where we test it, this is the schema, the code that gets sent over to these social media sites, so it knows, okay, I've identified the title, I've identified it, and when we test something, and I'll show you right now because I'm going to show you what I'm going to change on this. Under we'll go right to, we'll do it right on our live site because that's always a wise thing to do. So I'm going to go to the front end of here. I'm going to go to this presentation, the one that we're working on. I'm just going to grab that URL. Now I'm on Open Graph, opengraph.xyz. There are a number of sites that do this. This is my favorite. I included it at the bottom of this. I think some other ones too. But when you look at this, and I think I presented this earlier as one of the tools, you can see what your title is going to be, the description, and then what you really want to look at it over here is in the preview, because you get an idea of what things are going to look like on Facebook, on X, on LinkedIn, how it's going to use the image, the title, and so forth. So what I'm going to show here is something as simple as, if I were to go into this page here, and I'm going to edit the post. Again, very smart to do on a live presentation. But I did want to show something that this is the behind the scenes of this slide presentation that we have. You can see all the links we have and all. I'm going to scroll on down, and at the bottom now I'm using Slim SEO, and you can see where it's, like you might see in Yoast and all, very similar. What's the title? Do you want to modify the title? The description. The description is being pulled from the excerpt. You can see that this isn't quite right, but I might maybe I'll edit that. And then I'm going to select a different image that I've already uploaded. And this is one thing that, depending on what tools you use for editing graphics, if you use Canva, if you use Photoshop, and in fact, I will show you, there are plugins, and there's a plugin that's being developed and presented kind of in public. If you follow anything in the community, I'll show that to you real quick. I haven't used it yet. I just created this in Photoshop, where all I did was added the logo, the title. You can't really see it too well, but here, I'll do this. Where is my copy the image URL? So I made this image, right? So it's the same title. It's the Ray. Is this AE artificial intelligence, or is this Ray original?
Yeah, I painted this by hand.
Okay. Because I know you.
The Bing generated.
That's right.
But this was like 5 tries later to get something that looked like a hub and spoke.
I took the image. I put the logo in there. I misspelled Hartford, which is hilarious. I just noticed that, because this is what you do when you're doing this about an hour before you're giving the presentation. But if I come back over to here, and I'm going to select this image, so now my Facebook image, and I could pick a second one for Twitter. Twitter will use the Facebook, but if I now save this post, and assuming the caching went, so we'll wait a second. Real quick while that's doing, and for any other meetup organizers on the call, which I know we have quite a few, Ray, there's an opportunity to host on WordPress.com for free, a meetup site. So I'm looking into that now.
Okay.
So this is on an underpowered site. So sometimes our our refreshes are a little
Mhm.
slow. So now if I go back to Open Graph and I can check that website again. Let's see. Did I save it?
Did you have cache you need to clear too?
I'm going to go over here and I am going to go and clear the cache. Let me re-grab this. And sometimes it's even better just to go this cache. So now you can see I've changed that. And so you can change just to anything. But branding your social media images so that now if I go and post this on Facebook, I'm not going to do it right now. I can do it later if anyone really wants to see it. But these previews are pretty accurate in a lot of these preview tools. So again, this opengraph.xyz. So you can see that in Facebook now, my image is going to have greater meaning. A lot of times I will go and I will see the social media images like the site icon big and cropped weird because it just grabbed what it could. If we're using an SEO tool where we have control over it, have control over the title, have control over the description, we can make sure that we are doing our best to and Google will use it and on down the line. Anything that's grabbing content for a site looks at that schema, looks at that open graph tag information. So I want to make sure that people know that that's there, and if you're using an SEO plugin, that you have that capability built in. Real quick, the thing that's being developed right now is omgimg.co. I'm going to recommend that they need to show examples on the site. But the whole idea is that as a plugin, you can set up templates where it automatically is going to put the title in the image and it's going to put the logo on and things like that. So you can do it within WordPress, you can edit it within WordPress, or you can just make it automatically use a template and create a more social media friendly site. So this is a product that's both in development. I know the people are doing it. It's pretty cool.
Does this connect to the social media sites as well too, or this just does the kind of the reformatting and you still need to
yeah, it's just creating the image that you will use as your open graph
okay
image. So but it's doing that. What's nice is it does it automatically, so the only thing you have to do is connect, and I'm not sure if he's yet connecting to like the SEO plugins to be able to automatically fill that, but being able to not have to go to Canva or WordPress or Photoshop or whatever to create those is nice.
Cool.
I think that's it for this. If there's any questions.
I did not see any.
Right.
Sue made a point, I think it might be coming up on mine, but maybe back to yours as well too, which is true that also sadly, like Facebook really has started penalizing posts that are auto published from like Hootsuite and all that, because it says, oh, it's not, I forgot she had said it's not content that was created directly.
Right.
Yeah, it's just not original content. So that's back to the thing we talked about, the rules, because they want you creating it within their framework, within their tools, within the ad manager and that kind of stuff. So like things are convenient for you to do outside of their walled garden. Sometimes they don't like that.
Yep.
I'm going to show, so my last little bit here is going to be pretty quick too. So this, and we've covered this one. Oops, move my Zoom window, get on the way. So I think we covered this particular plugin in a bit more detail a few months back. So, in terms of your online presence, if you're an organization or a business, if you do events, obviously there's many ways to promote your events, and you still want to continue to do those to get people to like and share, et cetera. So, whether it's you're doing things through Eventbrite, Facebook events, Meetup, et cetera. But back to, well, how do you capture that and bring that back to your site? Besides just linking or putting a button that links out, you could use something like the events calendar. So it's really the pro version. I'll show this a little bit here. So the pro version, and I said this is my caveat, I mean, this is a bit expensive if you don't do that many events, but if you're doing this quite often, you know, what do you get out of this by installing the events calendar plugin? Well, it still allows you to promote your events on, you know, on your social media sites. So but the cool thing is you're capturing that information on your own site. You could also do things within this, and I think we showed this in that demo a few months back. You know, so not only people RSVPing, there's a whole paid portion to this as well too, so they could pay directly through your site. So again, maybe you capture some of that lost revenue that you're paying through Eventbrite, et cetera. So, you know, again, you can do some of the stuff yourself, but certainly you want to use a plugin, I think, to do something like this. There are cheaper free paid plugins that do some of this, but I wanted to bring up the events calendar because we talked about it previously, and like I said, it's pretty rich in terms of scheduling, integration, and especially this part too. You know, so you can import things from Eventbrite and publish out to Eventbrite as well too. So again, just another tool to connect your WordPress site to existing platforms, which have their own purpose for discoverability and all that. But again, to bring it back to your hub, as I said, the events calendar is one I would recommend. Just quick one. I know we're gonna wrap up in Q&A in a second, but back to the promotion, the capturing, promoting thing. I know you covered a little bit of Jetpack, or you mentioned Jetpack, Peter, in terms of publishing out. But one other kind of handy feature from Jetpack too, and I know we don't have Sherry and Tad on our gardening bloggers here, but I mentioned this to Peter as well too, that, you know, if you're running a blog, yes, you can publish your blog post to your Facebook page, and hopefully people are following you on Facebook. But another way to kind of build an audience too, it's an old school method, but if people are interested enough in your content, I mean, certainly these RSS feeds, although I think that popularity has waned quite a bit. And yes, you know, many sites can, especially WordPress was kind of built for that as a blogging platform. But another kind of cool low-tech thing that comes with Jetpack and other tools is the ability to have like a sign up. Add a sign up component to your site. So just one genealogy site, I know Gerald's on here too, one genealogy site that I follow, you know, she has this really simple widget on here that's from Jetpack. So follow the blog via email. And, you know, because she doesn't post very frequently, it's a nice thing when I get an email. Again, this is for your very captivated, interested audience. So another thing to think about, you know, if you're running a blog. So rather than automatically assuming everyone's going to read your blog posts on their social media feed, which they probably want to, but it gets lost in that feed, as we talked about earlier. Here's another way to really connect to, like I said, your interested audience. So just wanted to mention that one as well. So hopefully that gave people some ideas. We have some of the resource links here. I'm gonna stop my sharing. So I'm gonna do, people can unmute themselves as well too. So just curious, you know, again, a lot of this was to throw this out for food for thought for others. Has anyone else done similar things or any other ways that they've connected their social media or done some of these things and either had some gotchas or some other advice around them?
I haven't done one yet, but thank you for this presentation because I was thinking about doing something along this line. I recently started a day job, a part-time day job, and I had to do a resume for the first time in 15 years. And I was like, woof.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges for me personally is the difference between highlighting like subject matter and highlighting skills, because I have expertise in 3 very distinct subject areas.
Yeah.
And I have done speaking and writing in all of those. So speaking and writing can be applicable to any of them, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you present that information in a way that makes sense? And so I was kind of thinking of going along like a custom post type route so that I could then like maybe have a page that's speaking and then also have a page that's like a subject matter, depending on where.
I think that's where maybe the case study could be a useful way to showcase that. So it's kind of, you know, what problem did you solve and break it down a bit. It doesn't have to be as long as like that one that I showed previously, but show how you apply those different skills to solve a problem, and maybe have case studies for those three different, verticals, or whatever you want to call it, those three different subject areas that you have. That's something that, like I said, I think WordPress gives you that ability to think a little bit beyond, because that's what a resume, right? It's just bump, 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 it's a
Yeah.
historical thing. This, I think, allows you to be a little bit more creative with something like that.
Yeah, I love WordPress for a resume type site, keeping in mind that anything that you can have on a piece of paper, which needs to be very efficient for all the reasons, you can expand on your
Yeah.
site. So having that control and that ability to say, okay, here's my resume, you can download it right here if that's what you want to do, but go into, and then if there is anything that now it's multimedia. Now if there's a speaking engagement that was recorded, it's on YouTube, and so on and so forth. I mean, kind of stating the obvious, but at the same time, it's a great thing to do. One thing to keep in mind, now you mentioned, and I only bring this up because sometimes it's not thought of this way, that we think in terms of custom post types, but a lot of times, especially with like the query loop blocks, things like that, it's pretty easy just to use categories and filter them out, so that all your information's together. You can slice it and dice it any way you want. But if you want a page of this topic or that, and have it all pre-sorted, you could just use the query block. So something to think about, unless you're actually adding something specific in a custom post type, fields that are specific. If it's just for organization, I've been really just kind of focusing on how I can use filtering in query loops as a way of keeping everything in one place. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I was kind of thinking about different types of content, like for video or whatever, to be able to have the links might require some custom fields.
It's funny you say that, because I think, and it's somewhere out there, I believe it still exists. Remember the what was it, Ray, help me, or anybody on the call, the blog style, sort of the Tumblr, if you what was that called? And this is a video, so it had a different format, and this is a quote, and that had a different format. I forget what that was called. That still exists. It's something you have to turn on somewhere, but and I think some themes have it, like if you pull a theme.
Well, the nice thing too about the block editor now for posts is you can basically can create anything in the custom post types, where and this is sort of veering off a tangent there. Custom post types, to me, their value is still consistent structure of capturing information. But in like your example of, let's say, a case studies or something, you don't need a custom post type for that. You can do that all within the post, and it gives you a little bit more freedom, I think, rather than. That's the whole thing I said I hate about like LinkedIn and some of these other ones, is that there are basically custom post types, but they're very limited in terms of what you could put in. So it's I think having the block editor really allows you to do everything, put in, like I said, video, music, whatever, kind of mix things up, and make the formats look different too, to be more interesting sort of between them. So I mean, I like the link tree example that you did, Peter, because it sort of goes back to, I mean, single page landing pages, that was sort of in vogue for a long time, but I do. It's kind of, and then after a while, everyone wants an app. Everyone wants an app, and then everyone's like, wait a minute, an app is a separate thing, and it's hard to maintain. This is kind of a nice balance between the two, where like it looks like an app, but really it's just nothing more than a page kind of designed to look like that. But it's clean, and especially for mobile, I think.
Yeah.
Rather than sending people 50 different deep links, like here, go to this, and they can find it all there.
Right. If somebody were saying, I need to see your resume, and it's like, go to Ingersoll WP, and then there's a link for peteringersoll.com, which is basically a resume site. It has some kind of, I haven't updated it in a very long time because I haven't needed to, but it's, testimonials and things like that. But yeah, I always find it interesting that when folks are missing the opportunity of what they're already using and go off and use something else, when it's like you already have something that can do a lot more, you just might not have thought about it from that perspective. So
What about I don't see any questions in the chat. I mean, everyone can unmute themselves if you like and bring up a question or comment. But what was the last thing you were going to bring up, Peter, about the federated verse?
I will share my screen again, just from the Fediverse. Are you seeing a Wikipedia page? Do you see a Wikipedia page?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. So this is, and I'll show you this. So Mastodon, decentralized social media. So Mastodon is the Twitter competitor, if you will, owned by nobody. In fact, if we wanted to set up a server, we could do it and have our own. I have a Mastodon account that I just set up. I had another one, but it was on a server that, interestingly enough, went away. But I was warned about it. I just didn't do anything about it. So here's my Mastodon link, and on indieweb.social, Ingersoll.
I'd say it's actually more of a Discord alternative than it is kind of a Twitter alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what's really interesting to me that I think is going to be where I'm hoping it gets part of the Fediverse. And if you want to learn about it, I could put the link in here. I know Doc Popular, he goes by the name, and he was with, forget where he was doing it, but now he did a series of videos for WordPress.com talking about the Fediverse. So he explains a lot of this stuff here. But one other thing that's really interesting is, and I'll click another link here, called ActivityPub. An ActivityPub is something that works sort of on the back end of this Fediverse, this shared network of social media servers, and you can move from one server to another if you want, right? And the way they're controlled and managed, and they all work together. But this ActivityPub is this neat thing where all of these systems will be able to talk to each other, including, this is a WordPress plugin, and I haven't tried it. But I'm intrigued by the fact that if you turn this on, and now you're basically putting your website, so this whole idea of when you do a post, it gets sent out automatically. But what's really interesting is it's a two-way street. So if something is done out on your Mastodon account, there's a comment, and if you choose to do it, you can have that feed back into your post and have it be a comment on the post. The thing that I think is really cool there is, if you're following any one topic and you're following it in Twitter or Facebook or a website or website.com, WordPress.com, and all WordPress.org, the comments that are in some of the posts there, you may be in that small universe, where another part of the discussion, the same thing, is over here. And if we get to a point where these things are connected using the ActivityPub concept, you have to worry less about, wait a minute, where did on what service did I leave that comment, and did anybody respond? Because everything is going to talk.
And this is where the social media company platforms, they're fighting this stuff as much as some of them are pretending to. It's the walled garden thing. Like, there was a whole, I follow Reddit quite a bit just because that's where I get 90% of my nerdy news from. But there was a whole thing about when Reddit started shutting down third-party apps from connecting to its API. There was this mass protest on Reddit. Everyone's like, I'm leaving Reddit. It's hard, though, because first off, there was no great alternative for some of these communities. And then they were, like I said, they were shutting down their API because, it's unfortunate that we started this whole thing. Like, you're using these services for free. You're signing up to their terms of service, which nobody reads. But part of that agreement right now is they're locking things away. So it'll be interesting. I think these are noble ideas, the Fediverse. I'm curious. Some of the big companies are going to fight it tooth and nail.
Yeah. I mean, they certainly don't have the momentum. And one of the biggest things about the social media world is, if everybody is using Instagram, then you use Instagram because that's where everybody is, and so on.
It is funny, back to our early discussion, is things change quicker than people think, especially these days. I mean, if you know anyone under the age of 20, how many of them are on Facebook?
Right.
they don't want to be where grandpa is or mom and dad. It's like things can move a lot quicker these days than people realize. You know, where was TikTok, 4 or 5 years ago?
Right. And
You know,
TikTok, I haven't even, it's not an area that I'm interested in. And yet business folks are telling me that I'm making a mistake to not be there. And
but
I'm
they
like,
don't know how to be there either. You know, it's all this stuff of we're seeing some of these old media things. Now, again, a little philosophical, but I do think you're seeing the slow decline of the value of some of the stuff. And the whole gold rush of you need to create a Facebook page and people will find you. It's not as the gold isn't there anymore, and that's where I think going back to the permanence of your website, again, not to say everyone's going to find you on your website, but sooner X dies the better. No, I agree, but it's like it's kind of sad to see some of these things happen in real time because there was value to many of these platforms. I mean, those of us who were on Facebook from the early I'm gonna keep saying Twitter, from the early days, there was value to it. Now it's like it's all diminishing. So
yeah,
back to having your website as a hub. It won't protect you from these other things dying, but it's a little bit easier to disconnect and switch to another one when one goes away, and you don't lose all your information because it is all in one spot. So hopefully that's the takeaway at least everyone got from tonight's presentation, and build something around you. Build a walled garden around yourself.
that's it.
And it kind of ties to, we'll probably do more discussions on this as WordPress rolls it out a bit more, but the whole data liberation effort that WordPress is doing, because WordPress also wasn't the easiest platform to take your data in and out of. So they're making finally acknowledging that issue too, and I think making some improvements there. So that's something I hope that we can see more evidence of soon, and hopefully start doing some demos on things that they're providing there. So I think that's all we got.
Yeah.
Peter, let's see any other comments coming up. So again, thanks everyone for joining tonight. If you have any other ideas or examples you want to share too of things that you've built for your online presence, share them in our Facebook group. Send it to us on Meetup. Contact Peter through his Mastodon account, however.
Yeah, and let us know if you like it when we dig down into a block or we talk about something on a broader topic, like the value of blogging or this, or whatever. We're trying to kind of deliver a wide range of things, but we'd certainly benefit from folks letting us know where there how about this, where there are gaps where we might be able to help.
Exactly.
Bill, the Hartford WordPress caulking group. Fill gaps. All right, I'm getting punchy, man.
Yeah. And with that, thanks everyone. Everyone have a good night. Well, like I said, I'll send out the recording. It's gonna be a little bit late tomorrow. I got a bunch of other stuff going on in the morning. So,
Very
but
good.
hope to see everyone again next month, and have a good rest of your night.
Some of you sooner at other meetups. So
yeah, there you go. Take care.
Bye,